work on that on the Coral Sea, and some neat stories. He couldn't talk about it for a lot of years because it was top secret, and I think he was itching to tell me once he liked that I was so into what he was into, but I asked him so many questions. So once the deadline passed to where he could talk about it, after I don't know, it was 40 years or whatever. There was that big semi. After that time went by, then he started telling me about what he designed during the Vietnam War. He told me about other stuff in the war ahead of time. Some of his fun times partying with buddies and stuff. I got to hear a lot of those stories, a lot of his party times and his adventures and stuff. But he didn't really talk about the war stuff so much in the beginning. But I think he got real comfortable talking with me about stuff, and then he eventually started opening up about the bad stuff of war, because he was in country too. And I got to hear a lot of really sad stuff too. It makes me almost cry now thinking about the stuff he had to go through. But he was an amazing man. Thank God he ended up in my life, and then he stuck with me, because I was his stepson, so there was some button heads in the beginning because I was a teenager, and I had that attitude of a teenager. You're not my dad, you can't tell me what to do. My dad wasn't around during that point in my life, so I was mad at my real dad. Felt like my stepdad was I felt like he's taking his place, and then my real dad could never come back in my life. I wouldn't be as likely to, I don't know, I had all kinds of mixed feelings, but he stuck with me, and he was so awesome. I would have died for that man. I would have died for any one of my parents. But when I was young, I was a rebel and mad at my parents and stuff. Never mad at my stepmom. She was always really awesome. So was my mom. My mom was always awesome too. There's times I got frustrated with my mom, if I got grounded or something for my own stupid stuff, or when I was a kid and got spanked for something or got in the belt or something. But I never called my mom names, I had other friends that had, complained about the parents, be like, oh, my mom's such a bitch, or my dad's such a this or that, or, blah, 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 blah. I never was like that with my parents. Like I said, I might have been mad that I got grounded for something, or that, and I might be like, oh, I'm not happy with my mom right now, I'm grounded, or I'm on restriction because of this happened. I'd get different punishments for different things. But I'm glad that I had that. It taught me different consequences. It taught me different ways to deal with things in the future, Although I did rebel quite a bit in the beginning when I was in my teenage years. It wasn't until I was in my 20s when I started really paying attention more, and I was doing so many drugs then, and I was so lost. My grandpa had died. My grandpa, he was like everything to me, because when my dad wasn't there, and my mom was single raising me before my stepdad came in the picture. My mom raised me on her own from when I was 4 years old. Well, probably even sooner than that, because my dad was drinking, he was a drinker. But, so my mom was trying to raise me and my brother when we were young and deal with an alcoholic husband, And he could be violent when he'd get drinking, he could do stupid stuff, depending on what he was drinking. And anyway, that word snuck. I almost caught it, but it slipped out. So my mom, she got a divorce from my dad when I was about 4 years old. That's when I first heard the word divorce. I was in a pickup truck in the middle. My dad was driving, and my mom, I was in the middle, and she said she wanted a divorce. And my dad just started crying. His tears just started flowing down. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it wasn't good. Whatever that word was made my dad cry. And me and my brother split on that, because my brother blames my parents and tries to say that's why he's so messed up and so the way he's so negative and treats people rotten and stuff and all that. They kind of blamed it on my parents. They should never got divorced. They should have stayed together for us because the kids, blah, blah. But even when my parents were together, my brother would like have a stealing problem and stuff when he was little. So he's always been a little different, you know. And I wish him well. I do. I keep praying to God that he becomes a better person. I can't be around him though. I can't have that toxicity around me. It took me 50-some years to finally break away from him and stay away from him. But now, on the other hand, I'm glad my mom left my dad. I'm glad she got a divorce. You know, because my dad was, you know, he was an alcoholic, and when he'd drink, he'd mistreat her and stuff. And so I'm happy she left him. I love my dad, but I'm glad my mom left him. I mean, glad she stood her ground and didn't go through life being sad and miserable, you know. And I hope God's okay with that, you know. I hope he understands, you know. And I think he does. I sure hope so. You know, I hope that didn't get held against my mom that she divorced my dad, because, you know, she didn't. I think my dad was a fool around too. I think he was cheating with other women and stuff. He was a ladies' man, but he was pretty slick that way, and he was fun and funny. But he was growing and learning too, and he came from a pretty rough upbringing. His mom, my grandma, she was quite the alcoholic. My grandpa, on the other hand, you could call him an alcoholic, but he wasn't a get drunk alcoholic. He was a get stock up on cases of Pfeiffer beer, and he might have one beer throughout the whole day and sip on it, or 3 beers throughout the whole day and sip on it. You know, but I don't know if I ever seen my grandpa drunk ever. I don't think I ever seen him drunk once. Now that doesn't mean he didn't when he was younger or something. You know, he might have partied with some friends or something, but he sure was a very honorable, respectful man, especially whenever his grandchildren were around him, you know. So if he ever did get tipsy or that, he did it in a different environment. He wouldn't do it when I was around, you know. But yeah, well, my grandpa, when my mom raised me from when I was 4 until about, I don't think now, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 12 years old, before my mom met my stepdad, and they ended up getting married. And oh no, I was probably about 10, I think. I think it was about 10. It was closer to 10 anyway. But and my grandpa, by the time when I was I don't know, man, I was in like must have been in my probably my 20s, I think. I was into my 20s or that when my grandpa died. And he was like so much to me. He was not only my grandpa, but he was like a best friend, and he had taught me so many things throughout my life. You know, and I never even knew he was so much Indian, and he always called me Eagle Eye. I think he only called me Darren, my first name, a handful of times throughout my whole entire life. He always called me Eagle Eye. Very rarely would he say Darren. And maybe I'm lucky if he called me Darren 5 times in my life. And I never thought nothing of it. Well, that's because, you know, the time he was growing up, he didn't talk about being Indian, you know, because of racism and stuff. And things he grew up through, you know. And so I wish I would have understood that more when he was still alive, so I could have asked him a lot more questions. You know, but and he used to, when we go to our family reunions down in Winona, Minnesota, he'd visit with everybody down there. Everybody loved seeing my grandpa. Everybody liked him. And but he'd still take time to take me for a walk up to the creek, down to the creek, and I could go swimming in the creek there. and the watering hole or whatever, and then he'd take me walking up by the railroad tracks through the woods, and he'd show me blackberries and raspberries, and different plants and stuff I could eat, stuff I couldn't eat, and what was poison ivy or poison oak. And I was little, I didn't remember a lot of it, but he tried. Now my brother, he remembered a lot of that stuff a lot more than me. I remembered the berries, some of the berries to eat and stuff, and then ones not to eat, and I think I remembered, it had to come from my grandpa probably. I remember that even if I was hungry and had been hiking in the woods or something, I might see a bush full of berries that looked tasty. But it must have been stuff my grandpa taught me when I was younger, and I'd look at it and I'd think, well, all them berries are on that bush, and there ain't no animals eating them. I'm guessing they probably ain't good for me, Whereas raspberries or blackberries, well, you can see they've been plucked and nibbled on by deer or whatever, So I would look for signs like that, and then if I seen an animal eating on a bush or deer munching on some berries, well, then I knew I had a better chance of being able to eat it, But if I didn't see no evidence of animals munching on them, well, then I knew it was probably not a good berry to eat. It's probably poisonous. The animals ain't been munching on it. Probably a reason all them berries are untouched. So stuff like that, I think, set into me from my grandpa. And throughout my life, when I've been able to go hiking through the woods, I've been able to get so close to animals and stuff, and I've had animals come up to me, wild animals, like they're not afraid of me or something. And even my friends have had pets and stuff, and they're whether it's a dog, a cat, whatever, birds, ferrets, you name it. It's like animals that just come right up to me, like they. And I always liked that. I always thought that was pretty neat that animals just trusted me. And my friends would all be like, "Oh my gosh, that is weird. And you don't like nobody, And I got that a lot through my life. So that's a good thing. Probably why so many people get along with me and like me so much. They probably subconsciously sense the same thing that animals sense in me. Well, I'm really babbling on now. I'm glad I am. Good nighttime material, even though you can't really see me until I come through little intersections like this. Here I am. I'm going to get dark again. At least with some of these nighttime videos, something you could listen to while you're working on something else, maybe kind of like listening to the radio. Maybe just glance over at the screen once in a while. Or if you're going to sleep, you can just keep your eyes shut and listen to me. And with my voice, maybe I'll lull you to sleep. Yeah, boy, my grandpa is pretty dang awesome. His birthday was December 7th, which was Pearl Harbor Day. And so, of course, he was definitely a full-grown man when Pearl Harbor happened. And what a birthday deal, huh? I guess that's after that happened, I'm sure he had a few birthdays in a row at least I'm sure he had a few birthdays in a row that didn't think about Pearl Harbor, Probably did for the rest of his life, Had to get over in the left lane. We got red and blues flashing on the shoulder. They probably got somebody pulled over up here. Yep, they got somebody pulled over. Change lanes again. If it was daytime, I would try to flip that camera around again so you guys could see how steep this hill is. It's a creepy hill when you're driving on a camper or something, because it's so steep. Boy, if your brakes are going out, it'd be scary. And in the winter, it's scary because you hope that it's not slippery. So I always go pretty slow down it. I always slow down ahead of time. Right now I'm coasting because this is where it plateaus a little bit. And then after this next little bridge here, then it's really steep. I got a little angle thingy back there. Sometime on the daytime if I ever come over this way. I should put that up here so I can see what the angle is. Ain't a 45-degree angle going downhill, but it's pretty steep. It's probably at least 30 degrees. You know, it's a pretty dang steep hill. Yeah, I bet you it's at least 30 degrees. Pretty close anyway. 25 degrees, 30 degrees. Sure wish I knew right here. It's steep. There's this little barbecue joint right here. Right now I'm in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, and there's a barbecue joint there that I don't know if they'll ever open again. The owner, I guess, I seen it on Facebook. The owner had like, I don't know, a heart attack or heart issues or that, and was in the hospital, and I sent some caring and prayers to him and stuff, you know, and I wanted to compliment them on how awesome their food was, but I didn't feel it was appropriate. Well, I hope you get better, because I really like that food, you know. But they haven't been back. They said that because of that, they were going to be closed until further notice, you know. And it's been quite a few months now. Some of these stories that I tell from regular subscribers and viewers, I hope you enjoy some of them, even though I know in the nighttime ones you can't see me when I don't have that light on. I feel a little more comfortable without the light on so I can see the road better. And eventually I'll try to get some decent red lights that I can dim down. I'll get like one of those little LED strings or something that I can dim down really low, so it's enough to see me but not enough to really light up the cab. But I want to be able to do it in red, because red doesn't dilate your eyes and you still keep your night vision, you know. So there's a little information for any of you that didn't know that. You know, red does not dilate your eyes. It doesn't take away your night vision. That's why photographers used to have a dark room with red lights in it, so they could, in the old film before we went digital, you could develop your film in the dark room with the red lights on, because the red light wouldn't mess with the negatives.